That has to do, I think, with sapience. Unlike any other species in the animal kingdom, we are sapient. We know. We can provide ourselves. We can construct explanations that are like tools that we use to parse the world around us. But in the same vein, we are also an environment unto ourselves. And the way that we interact with our environment, the models that we create conceptually, change that environment, and in turn, that environment shapes us. So it's a colorful way of saying that there's a constant feedback loop between ourselves and our environment, but to go even deeper between ourselves and ourselves, the more we meditate on that space that is provided, I think you can approximate something that would otherwise be inaccessible. And I think that you can grow somewhat richer and more self-aware and explore your own sensibilities. You're pointing at something, but that thing might also be pointing at you. And what is the sort of dialogue that emerges from you kind of just toying with the idea of what can be imagined, and what can be imagined can have serious and real consequence. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's real in a physical sense. However, there are plenty of things that are observable that aren't necessarily physical. There's a rich vein that can be mined there if you just take the time to be with yourself. Observation changes the content of what you're observing. For instance, light waves also operate as particles, but until you observe something, it's just a wave of possibility. And so observation very much has a factor in a physical role in manifesting potential. And I think that that's the same way with art. You draw interpretations, and interpretations become like explanations or tools that we use to interface with the artwork, but the artwork is just a means of seeing your own sensibilities and how those can grow from just observing them. Water's a medium, but everything's a medium. Because it's a medium, you move through it. You are part of it, and it moves through you. Pretty well known, I think, is Carl Jung. The notion of the collective consciousness and the sort of impact of dreams, so to say, like something that's intangible but still has an impression on your even conscious experience. It's the sort of animus and your relationship to that kind of shapes how you see. The artwork doesn't do anything until the observer brings themselves into it. And so that's why I think that the guiding principles of my work, I would say, is it's about self-awareness and agency, and the dialogue that I think the work emboldens is how you can speak to yourself. And the more that you can parse those what would seem indescribable feelings, the more that network expands. And the more that network expands, the richer that tapestry becomes. You can begin to realize that the work just gives you a surface to reflect on, but the reflection comes from you, just like the light that's entering your eye, and that process generates an experience that then generates an emotion or a conscious blip that is observable. The more observable it is, the more striking it can be, often the more you pay attention to it. And so I'm trying to navigate how those those blips meet each other. If you can imagine, the painting is under a microscope, the subject of examination, and you zoom in enough that the context changes. It's no longer like a stylization of a leaf. It becomes the constituent parts of the leaf, but the details inform the greater picture, and the greater picture is also informing the way that those details are composed. It's always discouraging when you see someone speaking this way, but then it's just, like splatters or something. And not to knock Pollock, but like, we're past it. It's been said, the significance of that has been explored, and now it's the artist's responsibility to find novel ways to maybe evoke the same thing, but in a form that builds off of and not just points backwards. I know that a work is novel because it feels like I'm discovering something. You've seen that picture, a picture of the, like, your disembodied nervous system, and you're just like a brain with a bunch of, like, jellyfish-like appendages, and the rest of your body, your skeleton, your nerves and all that. It's just part of your, like, suit that you wear, and you're really just inside of yourself. I would say that I'm enchanted by the idea that you are unto yourself a community, an environment, an ecosystem, and you move through that much like you move through your environment, and it's a medium inside a medium inside a medium, and there's this dilation, expansion, but also fixation that can, like, sort of repurpose context and change meaning, as you kind of look at different angles.